Morgan, do you remember, did I bury the Nuggets after game 2? Because I know a lot of people did, and I'm like, oh, crap, was I one of those people?
I don't think you did. We should check the tape just to make sure, but I don't think you did.
I wasn't feeling good. I don't think anybody was feeling good as this series shifted to Minnesota. Here we are after game 4. Denver takes care of business again. They win game 4. We're tied up at 2-2, headed back to Denver for game 5.
Yeah, and this game was fun. It was fun from the standpoint, too, that Ant came out like a madman, right? He did exactly what he said he was going to do. We'll go into details in a little bit. But the way that the Denver Nuggets came out and responded to that as an entire team, sometimes you forget it's a team sport. You got to have the whole team if you want to win the game. And Denver Nuggets tonight were the better team.
Yeah, Ant showed up. 44 points for him. A T-Wolves playoff record, 44 points for him. He was the one who showed up.
Yep.
I'll give a little love to Mike Conley, too. I thought he had some nice moments tonight, but I don't know where everybody else was. They're up 22-15 in the first quarter. And I got to be honest, I'm like, I like how Minnesota's coming out. One, like you said, Ant was coming out like a man possessed. And their defense was pretty locked in.
Yeah.
They were getting some stops. I'm like, are we seeing some of the flashes of the defense we saw in game 2? But then Denver settled down, and Aaron Gordon. I mean, what a phenomenal game he had. Aaron Gordon on both ends. It was being dominant defensively. It was taking it to Karl Anthony Towns. He was making shots, but he was playing with force. Started 10 of 10 in this game.
Thank you.
He ends up
forever to miss a shot.
He ends up finishing with 27 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks to steal on 11 of 12 shooting.
You know, I wasn't expecting Aaron Gordon to have a 25-plus point game. Ended up being a 27-point game for Aaron Gordon. I always expect him to be that aggressive on the defensive end, but I feel like, again, it was one of those moments, it was one of those nights where it inspired his play on the offensive end, and it made him that much better. And what made him so good? I don't know if it was at first him taking up the basketball, allowing Jamal Murray to play off the ball so then they could start creating more and more, allow guys to run through. Spacing was beautiful. They got into the two-man game later on. But the way that Aaron Gordon was looking for his shot, being aggressive, going to the rim, didn't give a shit who was in there. And then also just his shot just looked so pure from the outside today too. It didn't matter if he had to take a step back to get beyond the arc or if the ball was just getting swung around to him. He was just in a really good flow.
He was great.
Yeah.
I loved everything about how he played in this one, and I thought it swung things because Denver played well in the non-Jokic minutes tonight, and that was it with Aaron Gordon at the 5.
Yep.
It was his decisiveness. It was his playmaking. There's a couple of possessions in a row in the second quarter where he's got the ball on a post up. One, he found Christian Brown on a cut. Scores it at the rim, and then he kicks it out for a 3, banged by Justin Holiday, who was really big off the bench. The bench from Denver was great.
Huge.
But he was feeling that. I mean, he was like a mini Jokic out there where he's like, all right, I'm in the post now. I feel like I've got a size advantage. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is on me. I'm going to go ahead and let that double team come and trust that my teammates can move without the ball because, well, breaking news, they can. They play with Jokic.
His feel for the entire game tonight, you're exactly right. It was his feel was just so on point, understanding where his teammates wanted to be, where they were going to flare out to, or just cut through the paint, wherever it was going to be. His vision was up. He was doing just such a fantastic job on the offensive end, but then we just got to give so much love too to the way that he was playing defense. And I already know that we touched on this, but I'm telling you, the way that he just seemed way more engaged and locked in than what we saw, especially from those first 2 games from the Denver Nuggets. And it's nice when you have a little bit more of the perimeter pressure, but it was only Anthony Edwards that was capable of going downhill and getting anything done. I mean, I know we can give love to Mike Conley as well, but Aaron Gordon was also put on Ant at times, and I just thought he was doing good on everyone that he was pretty much playing on.
He was battling out there, and that's one issue going to the Minnesota aspect to hit on that. offensively, they just get in these ruts. And I thought tonight the ball did not move well enough. It felt like even when they were kind of closing the gap in the fourth, you wanted the ball in Anthony Edwards' hands more. I know Christian Brown was on him, and I think Christian's done a decent job, all things considered. I mean, Anthony Edwards is playing such a high level of basketball right now. Right. It's like, good luck. You just got to throw different guys and hope for the best. But they didn't give him the ball enough, in my opinion, down the stretch of this game. And there are just moments throughout this, after that nice start from Minnesota, where you scratch your head going, what are you trying to accomplish here? And I thought Karl Anthony Towns, especially in that first quarter, was trying to do far too much. And I think part of it was because, last game, he didn't take a lot of shots. So he took 7 in the first quarter. He was 0 for 7. But there was one play where he just gets the ball on the post with Aaron Gordon, and he's just posting up. Clock's winding down. It ends up being a terrible possession instead of, hey, it's not there. Aaron Gordon's battling. Let's get it out. Let's get the ball rotating around and get this defense moving around. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is a huge reason why they lost this game tonight. He didn't play good enough. We saw him play some great basketball.
Yeah.
While Minnesota was on this winning streak, he did not play great on either end tonight, and he cost them.
Well, and you talk about why he didn't play that great on either end. They were in his effing head. He was in his own head.
Can we pause on this for a second?
Pause. What?
How often after these playoff game recaps have we said, man, Karl Anthony Towns is just playing? He's not getting...
His game is maturing. His mental game is maturing.
I saw some of the old T-Wolves tonight where I'm like, a Cat and Gobert, what are you doing? I see Gobert doing the money thing to Foster again. I'm like, you just had an illegal screen. It was an illegal screen, Gobert. Why are you doing the money thing? And it's that type of thing. You go... Those specific instances I'm talking about, it's not why they lost, but it just shows you where they are mentally.
Yep.
You got to stay locked and engaged. This team has to have the identity of Anthony Edwards and Conley. Be focused on the mission at hand.
And well, speaking of them not being engaged and making some really stupid mistakes, I mean, it wasn't only like you're saying, it wasn't only Cat making some bad decisions, whether he was in the post, whether he was driving to the basket. It was also the way that they were playing defense and fouling at the half court line. And I mean, how many? It was Naz Reid had one of those fouls
on Jokic.
Yep, Cat had one of those fouls on Jokic. And just those moments in such a big game. And then there's more of those moments. Gobert had some really dumb fouls going on as well. It was just like, you guys are better than this. We've seen such beautiful basketball from this entire team in the postseason for a big enough chunk where they're capable of it. And in the regular season. And so that's why I think it was a little bit disappointing to see them kind of go back to their old ways. And then you have a 22-year-old is the only one that can get the ball in the bucket, can make things happen, kept his composure.
Talking about that non-Jokic minutes, the other thing in the second quarter when they went non-Jokic, it was interesting because Finch and Norrie decided to have Gobert, Cat, and Ant off the floor.
Okay.
And that was just a really tough situation, especially offensively.
Yes.
And the other adjustment, too, that's got to be made, I know Naz Reid had some decent success on Jokic early in this series, but now Jokic is like, I'm just bigger.
Adjusted.
We talked about how Ant came out tonight. Jokic came out like, I'm being aggressive offensively. I'm going to go get buckets tonight. I'm not having my 17, 12, and 12 game. I'm going to go get, 35 in this one?
35, 15 for 26, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc.
16 in the fourth quarter. He also had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. And I thought he was a force. Just didn't really have an answer. And I thought they gave Naz Reid that assignment too much. If Naz and Cat are playing, I'm sorry, I'm switching it up. I'm putting Cat on him. I feel like that's a better opportunity than the other way.
Yeah, well, I felt like that adjustment just should have been made quicker. Right? It felt like Naz Reid couldn't do what he was expected to do against Jokic. Jokic was feasting. He looked a lot more confident. He was playing a lot more like his MVP self, just taking it in, making those automatic shots that he makes in the paint. It was great. But yeah, I don't know why maybe changing things up wasn't happening enough, because even there toward the end, we saw Ant on Jokic at one point, and then they threw a double at him, and then he passed it back out. Then they passed it back to Jokic. They started throwing the double again. He acts like he's going to pass it back out, spins the other way to the right lane, has a nice little look at the rim, and he's just such a smart player. He's such a high level processor, and the fact that he can do that so quickly, it felt like the T-Wolves were 7 steps behind the entire game.
The first 2 games of this series, look, Jokic wasn't great. Gordon, Murray really struggled. Yeah. These guys are playing better now.
Yeah.
And we said after game 3, man, you give the defending champ some confidence. There's no way they were that bad as bad as they played in game 2. The way they won game 3. And then tonight, now they're going back home. I feel like that 3 days off shifted this series for Denver a little bit because it allowed Murray to get some rest, get some treatment, get off his feet. Murray looks like he's in a good rhythm now.
Well, you talk about the games shifting. You want to know when it shifted tonight, in my opinion?
Well, before the half?
Yes.
Dude, we need to. Well, and this is playoffs, right? Swing plays. You know, I knew actually a couple of them in the second quarter. It's 50-41. The crowd was amazing at the start of this game, but specifically at this moment, it's 50-41. Minnesota's kind of cutting back in the lead. The crowd is just into it.
Great crowd.
Jokic gets double teamed, has a beautiful pass to Aaron Gordon for a dunk. And then they get a stop on the other end, and then Jokic goes down and dunks at home. Felt like a momentum shift again. And you're like, man, Jokic felt it, made a couple of big-time plays. Then, my goodness, it's 56-49. The crowd is definitely into it. KCP hits a 3. Okay, you're down 10. Then shot clock's off. Anthony Edwards, probably the one poor decision he made in this game. Yeah. He was awesome in this one. Shot clock's off, 15 seconds. The clock's winding down. Finally makes his move about 7 seconds. Don't rush it, man. Get a shot at the end, right? Instead, he puts the ball on the floor. Jokic kind of came over. Looked like he stripped the ball. They get it to Porter for the dunk. Nickeil Alexander-Walker tries to rush in a desperate pass, picked off by Murray, bangs in a 3 as
from the half-court line.
Kevin Harlan is losing his mind. Murray is in Harlan's face. Harlan's finishing the call. A 56-49 game turns into 64-49 at the half.
Alexander Walker tried making that pass from the baseline all the way to the other end of the floor. So where it was caught by Jamal Murray was literally at the half-court line, next to the TNT broadcast on the sideline. Shoots it. Buzzer. He's just looking at Harlan. Harlan's calling the rest of the play like this. Jamal Crawford's like, oh my God. Reggie Miller's like, oh my God. That entire moment was iconic. It was beautiful. I loved every second of it. But then you look at it from a basketball standpoint, the shift, the way that it quieted down the entire arena.
It 8-0 run in like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Also, just real fast, I noticed. So I said the story, and then you said it again.
No,
I felt like you delivered it in a much better way, and I was like, "Did you wish you like, hey, you were kind of sloppy there?"
Well, no. Can I tell you because you said this is why I'm going to tell you because you said Alexander Walker. You're like he tried throwing it down and Jamal Murray 3, and I'm like, no.
I said he picked it off and launched a 3.
Yeah, but it wasn't from that side of the floor.
I wasn't descriptive enough.
It was from the half court line. Let's get it straight.
It was an 8-0 run in 20 seconds. Swing play. So at the half, it's 64-49. Denver's up. Ant's got 23 at the half. And you look, Cat's 1 of 10 shooting. Third quarter, Jamal Murray got it going. Ant was continuing to carry. Jamal Murray had 12 points in the quarter. Gordon had 9. Jokic did not score. They take a 90-79 lead into the fourth quarter. And then fourth quarter, Denver was able to execute and get the win. I noted this too because we had talked about Cat and Gobert. Now I feel like I'm piling on a little bit, but I'm looking back at my notes. Cat's decision making. I feel like at times it reverts back to him as a young player, and he has taken so many steps this year. He has matured his game. I feel like he's embraced what his role is on this team. He stepped up defensively. Tonight felt like a slight setback for him. Game 3, he didn't play well. He wasn't super aggressive. I can accept that. Tonight, I felt like there were mental miscues. He had a play where he's putting the ball on the floor, shoves Porter instead of finding Gobert, who had Holiday on him, like in the paint.
Yeah. Just
And
dumb
then,
decisions.
On the other end, Jokic hits a three, turns it to 96-81, and then we talk about the Gobert bad screen where he did the money sign. It's a legal screen. And Gobert had some really tough fouls in this game.
So, you know how Ant last game, after the game in the locker room, was like, I feel like I didn't do enough for my team. I got to be locked in.
Yeah.
I got to be more aggressive. I just got to do more. And I think you said this to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you're like, man, it's the playoffs. Like, how are you not locked in? Like, how is that lapse even happen in a playoff game?
He talked about his energy wasn't where it needed to be.
Yes.
And I loved the accountability. I didn't understand, like, hey, the energy needs it. This is the play. The energy has to be
and
there.
This is where, and so I thought about you saying that, because at first I'm like, oh, everyone's human. Everyone has their lapses, whatever. But I don't think that's the case when you're supposed to be a champion, whatever. He's 22 freaking years old.
Dude.
And that is what came over me, was like, wait, he still hasn't experienced this a lot at the highest of high levels. And so, like, from that moment that he said, I have to be better, he literally held himself accountable and did what he needed to do. Now, my whole point to this is, and because I know I want to talk a little bit more about Ant, but my whole point to this is, with Kat, it's like, you've been doing this for a little bit now.
Yeah,
Like, what is it about you and your shift that you went back to how you used to play mentally? Your leader in Anthony Edwards was willing to hold himself accountable and take that leap in this next game. Why weren't you able to get there as well? And it's tough because they're winning this game if Kat is playing
maybe.
better.
I think they have a better chance. But you're right. Look, I think if on a positive standpoint, if you're a Minnesota fan, it's hard to be positive when you just lost 2 at home, right? And when you felt like you had this opportunity to really put away the defending champs. It was 115-107. Cat wasn't great. Anthony Edwards was like the only one able to manufacture anything offensively. Your role guys aren't knocking down shots right now. Like, you've shown that you can go win in Denver.
Yeah.
You've shown it. So I think maybe there's like, you got to come together a little bit. I think this is why you can't be a prisoner of the moment in a 7-game series. It can shift fast. And couple of days ago, we're like, dude, people are like, is Denver going to get swept? Are they going to be able to win this series? Well, now it's tied going back home. And some of the reasons why, Jokic is playing better. Jamal Murray doesn't look as gimpy out there. It looks like he's moving pretty well. He looks like he's in a better rhythm, getting back to his mid-range, that little baseline jumper that he loves so much. I thought the Jokic-Murray pick and roll was fantastic tonight. And, so much of that pick and roll isn't just between those two. It's what it creates for others.
It allows the ball to go from side to side.
That one play where the ball movement was fantastic in the second half, Murray, Jokic pick and roll. Jokic felt the collapsing paint, kicks it out to the quarter to Gordon. He didn't take the three. The guy's red hot.
Yeah.
He could have taken that three. They swing it around the horn, get a 3 ball. It was beautiful ball movement, and it was all created out of that devastating Jokic-Murray pick and roll. Well, those guys hit shots. That's going to open up things, right? And then Gordon playing like he did. But Denver's bench has been such a big question mark.
Yeah.
Christian Brown, back-to-back games, playing well. He had 11 points tonight, played 25 minutes for them tonight.
Yep.
Justin Holiday has shown in his time in the NBA that he can hit shots. And he's finally hitting some shots. He had 10 points, 3 of 5 shooting. He also had 3 rebounds in this game. Reggie Jackson hit a couple of big threes in his 9 minutes. 9 minutes. So 6 points.
Contributions.
Significant. Everyone, this was a total team win for them. On the flip side, Minnesota's bench, like Naz Reid, he had 11 points, but struggled defensively a little bit in this one with the matchup against Jokic. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, we've raved about his contributions on both sides of the ball recently. He had 2 points, 1 of 7, 0 for 4 from 3. Kyle Anderson gives you no points.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough to win games. So Denver's bench is playing better. Their guys are playing better. Now this series is tied.
And by the way, and when you see the 44 points from Ant, it's not like he was taking away from what others could have done.
No.
It was his 44 points were pure dominance. He was on one, give him the ball. It's not even giving the ball and get it out of his way. It's giving the ball and he's going to make something good happen because he was making some good decisions, even if defenders were coming on him and he wasn't able to get a shot off or whatever else he needed to do. He was finding the open man. So yeah, I think for the rest of the T-Wolves squad, you look at a game like tonight and you just think of like, what if we, if you're coming off the bench, what if I had just stepped up a little bit more? What if I had just, added this? Gobert, even same thing there, just getting in foul trouble. Yeah. It's just like the fouls that he was committing were just deflating, especially at where they were in the game.
I think the other thing, in game 2, we remarked about how Mark Davis and his crew were not blowing the whistle. They blew the whistle like 5 times in this game.
Yes.
And I think that was to Minnesota's benefit. They played locked in defensively, but they were also like, hey, man, they're not calling shit either. We can play even ultra physical.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're calling a little more. And I don't think it's outrageous, but I think as a player, from crew to crew, you don't know what to expect.
You don't know what a foul is. You don't know what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do.
I think it's frustrating to watch as a fan sometimes. It's like Minnesota, some of the plays that they had defensively, I'm like, those weren't being called in game 2. But they're being called tonight. And I don't know how you adjust to that.
For example, McDaniels, when he's getting up on Jamal Murray or whoever else is dribbling the basketball, and Scott Foster is calling a foul, which is absolutely a foul in this league. But for Mark Davis, was definitely not a foul in that game too. So it can be confusing. And I think that sometimes becomes part of the game too. I always talk about that. I go, as a player, know your personnel, know what officiating crew you have. But in the playoffs, it just feels a little bit different, especially when it goes from one extreme to another. So yeah, it can be frustrating. I can sit here and be like, but you got to adjust. Easier said than done.
It's going to be interesting for Minnesota because, in my opinion, this is the first time they have felt real adversity.
Yeah.
Had they won tonight, it'd be like, oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
You bounce back after a win, or after a loss. You're up 3-1. You're feeling great about things, and you've lost one playoff game. Well, now, after winning your first 6 playoff games, and the noise was out there. I'm not saying that they fed off this, but the reality is we're like, dude, this team championship. And then others were like, Nuggets are done. The T-Wolves Celtics championship. Who wins that series? Like, they already advanced them to the NBA Finals, right?
Man.
Well, now they've lost 2 in a row at home. And this is where it gets super interesting. So if we have questions about how they are mentally, we're going to learn a lot about them in a game 5. And I think they'll come to play.
I agree with that. I think we've seen enough consistent good out of that team to know that they will come and show up. But are you going to get this same type of Denver Nuggets team where you go down the list? And I said this to you when we were out there, and I got to give love to KCP because I know he finished with 3 points, but the way that he was just everywhere on the floor, he only finished with 1 steal, 2 blocks, but it just felt like so much more with his activity out there. And that is also why he was playing 32 minutes tonight, because he was doing a little bit of everything. Everyone on this team seemed to be doing a little bit of everything. And I feel like the Nuggets in their identity, they are their best when they're playing like a team that just has a rhythm that no one else can really stop.
27-13 bench points. Points off turnovers tonight, 20-11 in favor of Denver.
Damn.
Why that's significant too, Minnesota had 11 turnovers. That turned into 20 points for Denver. Denver had 12 turnovers that only turned into those 11 points for Minnesota. Some adjustments will need to be made in this series, but part of it is, hey, Minnesota, you guys got to be better. Cat's got to be better. The defense has to be better. You got to make some shots. How are you feeling now that this series is tied up at 2 apiece? Is it done for Minnesota? Are we overreacting on that?
Oh, stop.
Or we feeling like Minnesota can still win this series? Let us know in the comments below. Comment below, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.